Your friends who are drinking don't want you to get sober. Friends who are
Drinking
overweight,
buddies.
yeah,
They're
they
not real
don't,
friends.
they don't want you to get skinny, and that can create a situation of where like you are trying to grow, you are trying to develop.
That's
They've got
off-putting.
incentive to keep you around because it makes them feel good.
This is the Atomic Souls Podcast.
All right. You're rolling.
All right. Welcome to Atomic Souls Podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm Dylan Macinerney. So I work in government and strategic communications. I've been doing that for, about a little over 10 years now. Started off cutting my teeth in D.C. and then realized I didn't want to be there anymore after about 5 years. And so moved down to Austin, had some family down here, and started building up a family, kept working in government and politics and comms, and just been trucking along ever since.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's just there.
Okay.
Better?
Yeah, good.
What got you in politics? Let's start there.
Oh, man. So it started off, got to take it back to college. I went to school up in Nebraska, was studying to be a pre-med student, and it took organic chem for the first time. And within like two
absolutely
classes, I was just like, no, get me out of here as fast as possible. So, I bounced around a little bit, and, like any good liberal arts student, I wound up saying, like, I could go into politics. Let's go with that. So I started studying government and actually stuck with it. And the intent was actually to go to law school for that. And actually, for a semester, I did, was at UT Law for a semester.
Nice.
Just wasn't the setup for me.
You got to be really into it.
Yeah.
To do law.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, the people I met there, exceptional, smart. I still see updates from them and they're doing amazing things. But that's just like the level of detail orientation that it requires just was not going to be my speed.
Yeah.
And so, I wound up moving back home, spent like 6 months just trying to get my life together. And a friend of a friend reached out and said, hey, I know you studied government. I know you studied politics. Come be an intern in DC. And, I had maybe $5,000 to my name at that point.
Yeah.
And I wound up moving into a house with 14 roommates. It was collective housing.
Yeah.
And when I say I had roommates, I had 3 other people living in the same room as me.
Is that normal?
I mean, it can be. I mean, there's cottage industries in DC that are organized specifically towards people who are coming to be interns.
Yeah.
And they've got housing set up. And so it started off as an internship working for a member of Congress from Kansas, my home state. And then just started working my way up and wound up working my last couple of years there as a legislative assistant, which in normal people speak is just somebody who handles a set of policy issues for a member of Congress. Did that for a couple of years, handled stuff like finance, military and defense, econ, a little bit of agriculture too, oddly enough. Sometimes it could be a bit of a hodgepodge, just fit whatever the needs are. And that's ultimately what got me to DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it to live that life? It sounds really interesting.
It's interesting. It's also, it is exciting. It's fast paced. It's filled with ambitious people, which is great, but it also comes with all of the not so great parts that come with that kind of personality as well. You've in 1 minute you will be helping manage stuff on the floor. You'll be helping navigate bills, making sure votes get cast, making sure vote recommendations get put up to the member of Congress, make sure they've got what they need for that. And then, an hour later, you'll be at a happy hour, and it can really result in some really split actions of where the stress and anxiety that comes with that can then turn into some really negative habits as well, like drinking, drug use, that sort of thing, all exponentially high in DC. And that was part of the reason I left ultimately. It was just
Really?
it's a really quick culture that can lead to burnout and lead to some poor decision chances if you're not careful.
Poor decision chances. I like that. Opportunities for bad choices.
Yes.
What's Harley been saying lately? You're making bad decisions.
I taught our daughter bad choices versus good choices because she's been making some bad choices. Yeah. And now if we want to go to a certain restaurant that she doesn't want, she said, that's a bad choice, Mommy.
The other day she wanted
What?
She wanted ice cream, but we set it up to where like you got to poop on the potty to get ice cream.
Yep.
And she hadn't pooped on the potty yet. And I'd open up the refrigerator for something else, and she saw the ice cream, and I told her no, and she looked at me, put her hand on her hip, she goes, "You're making bad choices."
Yeah, I set myself up for some hard situations now.
Yeah.
How did you handle that stress? Like, what was your...
I mean, I mean, I can freely admit I started drinking too much while I was there. I had a group of friends who, I would still consider friends to this day.
Yeah, it sounds like a trauma bond. Like,
yeah, absolutely. No, it totally is. Yeah, like you go through the just trenches with these folks of where you've got, 2 a.m. nights, and then the next day you're back in the office at like 7 a.m. To do it all over again. And after a week of that, like going out to the bars or something like that, coming together with friends who are going through the exact same thing, that brings you together. And had some really strong friendships because of that. But a lot of what we did was also built around drinking for the most part, but also other substances would occasionally sneak in too. And, I tried to avoid that as much as possible, but it's one of those things of where there were very few people in DC I knew that did not regularly go out and drink, at least casually. And it turned into it. You could see who was keeping it together and who was not. It could definitely create problems.
Yeah. So you were able to like consciously avoid the harder stuff. And
thank goodness for that. But I also saw, I was like, okay, this is a path that, this isn't going to end well for anyone. And so, as much as I love government politics and the career success that came with that, I just made the decision, I got to get out of here. I got to do something else. So I think that was back in 2018. I did what any academic does when they don't know what to do. I went back to school. So went back, came down to Austin, went to the LBJ school here, got my master's degrees, and kept working in public affairs. But that's opened me up more to just things are a bit steadier here. And there's a world outside of government. There's a world outside of politics here in Austin and Texas in general, which I think is another critique of DC. And I mean, you hear it in politics a lot where it's just like these are, whether you want to call them swamp creatures or just, I've heard the best one is Congress critters. That's the one that I've heard before. But there is such a thing as just getting caught up in that DC mentality, getting too focused on that and forgetting the bigger world outside of it. And coming back to Austin and being in the area, being able to actually get involved in the community and get involved with people who, beyond election season, they could give a rip about politics. That's it's. That helps balance it out and gives the structure that I think is just much more beneficial and being able to navigate politics on a daily basis.
Nice.
That's a pretty cool perspective I never thought about, because a lot of times, we'll see stuff happen in politics and we're like, are they looking at the same world we are? They literally are not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. And it's not their fault. I mean, they are there to do a job, and especially like the staff who, it's largely 20-somethings. Like the number of 20 to 30-year-olds that are helping run the country is like scarily high.
I got scared because they had an interview with some of the ex-Doge people, and they were like mid-20s.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what?
Oh,
They're like admitting to using ChatGPT and like sending private emails. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I remember seeing them just like, yeah, that looks about right.
Yeah.
Like, because, and it tracks when you think of like the level of commitment, time, and energy that goes into helping run the government, run the most important government in the world. that requires near 24/7 commitment.
Right.
And that is something that, as folks with families, like,
Right.
unless you're like the boss in that situation, that is not something that you just have a lot of time for. And so it naturally kind of falls back towards the younger folks. And yeah, sometimes you get people who have very little experience finding themselves in roles that actually mandate a lot of it. And it surprises people when they see it.
Yeah. That is wild.
Yeah.
And what are you doing now? Like, what did you shift into after?
Yeah, so I now work for a nonprofit, which is much slower speed.
Nonprofits are slow speed.
Yes, they are.
And so we focus on getting resources to moms in need and women who are pregnant, getting them resources they need so that they can feel safe and secure through their pregnancy. And then for the first 3 years after their kid is born, then we continue to provide resources through our network. We're statewide.
Nice.
And yeah, it's rewarding work. It's steady work. And it lets me stay in the world where, I want to be. I can see the impact that we're having versus, what we saw in D.C. That can be something where it's just like we mentioned earlier, you're not looking at the same world at that point.
Yeah, that's a very different. You're going from like working around like 20 somethings to working with like people starting family.
Yeah. And it's just the change of mentality. And, a lot of these folks that come to us, they're not necessarily in the best position. A lot of them might be surprised by the circumstances they find themselves in. And getting them from where this is something that I have to make a massive change, and there's fear and there's anxiety, to get them to where they are ready to take that on. That's just immensely rewarding to be part of that process.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. What do you do for like that? Like how do politics fit into helping
so
mothers?
More than you'd think. Like that's the thing. It's like most people, when I tell them what I do, it's like, oh, well, like what's political about that? And it's just everything is political one way, shape, or form. And we get state funding, and so that's part of it, is making sure that that funding, it remains stable. Right. But then also, we inevitably get caught up in political discussions, particularly around the notion of life. And that is something of where everyone thinks that they've got the particular solution for that. And we have to navigate all those different people trying to influence programs like that, all while keeping that balance of, we are here to focus on the clients. We are here to make sure that these people get the resources they need. Yeah. And so my part for that is external communications. So anything that's like press related or anything like that. Internal communications. So whether it's our staff internally, or because we are a state network, we've got a lot of facilities across the state, making sure they're kept updated on different regulations or different requirements. And then finally, there is still a bit of a get my hands dirty in politics too, which I admit that's fun. To an extent, that is good stuff.
Yeah. You're in it, but not too much.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you said you have a kiddo. You started
I do.
A family.
Yep. So I've got he turned 2 in December. His name's Theo. He is going through we're trying to potty train phase.
Yeah. We're still trying. We're at 3. Sorry.
And my wife and I, we agreed, like, okay, we're gonna do that method where it's like, he's not gonna wear a diaper. Yeah. We're just gonna let him run around. Yeah. And I admit, so many puddles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just everywhere I look, like, I checked that 5 minutes ago, and there's now a puddle there.
Yeah.
And it like trying to get him to stay on the potty for longer than a couple of minutes.
You know what I've heard? So my cousins have a bunch of boys, and they kind of treated it like dogs. Go outside, go potty outside. And so they go pee in the grass to like help them learn like where to go.
Yeah.
They lived in the country though. We couldn't do that.
Yeah, I feel like
Plum
we
Creek.
can't do that.
Yeah, I might get some letters from the HOA on that one.
Why
I thought it was so funny
in the
though.
street every day?
They have like 5 boys. And so
Okay, I mean, at
that's
that
how we
point,
did it. Yeah.
five boys,
Like a little army,
that's just damage mitigation at
Yeah.
that point.
I always found that so funny. They're
That is
like, yeah, just take them out back and pee on the tree.
I remember Rachel had bought it was like the 3-day potty training book or something, and her holding the book like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, no. Well, our previous au pair started potty training. We had talked about it extensively, and we're like mentally prepping ourselves. And she just did it one day.
She's very much a self-starter.
She was a self-starter,
which was great.
I loved, but Harley was not ready. Like we still needed like probably 6 months. I think she would have been better at like 2.5.
Right.
And we started like at 2. And so, it did not go well. So we had a huge, about 9 months in, we had like a huge slide back where she just started like every poop was in her pants and she just completely everything. So we actually did it again. We did the 3-day method. We took parts of it. So she like earned back her like clothes. She was like, at home naked. She earned back her pants and she earned back we took away princess dresses, going outside, doing anything fun basically. And so she pooped in the potty. She would get all of that back at one time, and she also got a piece of candy. And then peeing, she gets like a Starburst. So it's more exciting, but like poop is like what we need in the potty because the peeing like didn't regress as much, and it has worked. It took about a couple weeks for her to like figure it out that we were serious about it, but she's had like maybe 1 backslide since then. It's been like
excellent.
Well,
over
now
6 months now.
She'll get up from a nap or get up in the morning. She goes, check my diaper.
She did. So like a few weeks ago, she had a backslide where she was pooping in her diapers because she still wears them to sleep for
Little
nap
pull-ups.
and stuff. And so she knew that it would like consciously that she could do it in those and it would be fine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we were like, you can't do this anymore. Like she was getting sick from it. So yeah. Now she's like, check my diaper.
Yeah, she's starting.
Or she'll scream, I have to poop.
She's starting to develop like a lot of self-awareness around like this is what babies do, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
be a
We're
big girl.
really trying to, not in like a shameful way, but like, hey, you're not a baby anymore. You're a big girl.
Or like she'll like we'll go outside and I always tell her, you need to wear a hat and stuff, and she'll go grab the hat on her own now, and she goes, I'm a big girl for that. You are, baby.
Theo has just started to enter into that phase of like, I want to be a big boy now. And, he's got a bit of a speech delay. And he's actually had a lot of progress the last week, which is awesome to see. But, he wants to do all this big boy stuff. He wants to, climb up into the front seat with me when we're about to go driving. It's like, dude, you do not belong up here. And, if you try to restrain him at all on that, like he's just like not having it right now. And with the speech delay though, it makes it that extra little step of like he can't explain what he wants. He has to like show it, and that just creates this whole extra layer of like it's like playing telephone or something like that, where you're trying to like figure out what he's saying. You do something, see how he reacts, and then just try and balance it all out. And it's just, but at the same time though, when he can figure out how to do something all by himself, he's just got this massive smile on his face, and it's just like, look at me go. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's a sign of intelligence. Cause Harley, she hated not being able to communicate as a baby. Like you could tell she'd be like so frustrated that like kind of same thing. And so now that she can communicate, she is like so smart. You're like, oh, wow. Like, that's why you were so annoyed, because you like were trying to tell us.
And they've got the words. They know what they're trying to do and what they want to say. They just don't have the tools yet. And you can see it just like it's almost like a dam like overflowing or something. It was just building up all that pressure.
And the jump from 2 to 3 was really cool. Like they become like a real kid. They go from baby to like big kid.
Yeah,
Like,
2 to 3
really.
was huge.
She
That was
grew so
the jump from not being able to express to being able to express was
Too
2
much.
to 3. Yeah.
Now she's telling us we're making bad choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even when, he might not have words yet, and sometimes it can still come out as babble.
Mm-hmm.
The dude is a chatterbox, just like la 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 la, duck, la 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 la, and just running around in circles. And I'm just like, 90% of the time, I'm like, this is great, I love this. But there are moments like, going back to baby mode would not be the worst thing. Where it's just like you have to sleep on my shoulder every 3 hours. Like, let's just go with that for a bit. And, oh yeah, no, those days are gone.
Oh yeah, we've had friends with having kids after us. Like, enjoy the baby phase. Enjoy, like, don't push her to walk. Don't push him to crawl. Let her just be a potato. Like, you will miss it.
Yeah. I mean, and there's this huge push, it feels like, just wherever you look, of where it's just people wanting their kids to grow up.
Yeah, too
and
fast.
then too fast. And then the kids want the same too. And, not to be the guy that says, oh, it's all social media's fault. But, I think a lot of them see like there is a much bigger world than like, when we were growing up, our world was confined largely to like our neighborhoods, but maybe what we saw on TV or something like that. And, you got 10-year-olds who are aware of like global affairs and that sort of thing. It's just like, you don't need to know this.
Right.
So that was what I was thinking with, they were having like the high school walkouts about the ICE stuff. I was like, they shouldn't even be aware that this is taking
That's
place.
a college student thing.
Yeah, you're killing their childhood, regardless if you agree with it or not. Like, that's not their concern.
Yeah, it is something of where, on one hand, like I'm a big supporter of, teaching our kids about civics, how to be an engaged citizen. I want to take my son to come watch me vote. If he wants to go to a protest or something like that, I'll be like, I will take you. And at the same time, though, you see that of where it's just, it feels like it's unstructured and in a way that they are putting not only like their education's on the line, but they're putting a lot of other elements where, it's creating this tension of where it's this new debate amongst parents where it's like, well, should I allow my 13-year-old to go out and skip class to go protest? And it creates just this whole new tension that, for the longest time, I don't think a lot of parents really had to worry about. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, if I could be wrong because I'm not completely educated on this, but it feels like grooming to me because I know a lot of high school kids and there's no way that they got it all together enough to organize those things themselves. So in that regard, it actually has nothing to do with the kids. Somebody is grooming them to be an activist on their behalf, and that's what really irritates me.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that I do think comes back to social media.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a lot of parents are just letting social media raise their kids.
Yeah, and
TV and all that.
And, I mean, the good news is, like, starting to see some pushback on that. I think last I checked, it was like 2/3 of the states have now implemented bans on school or phones in the classroom.
Yeah, recently, I think in the last year or two, they've really shut it down.
And then the last third is probably coming along in the next couple of years, which, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when Facebook was first getting started, and it was like
I wasn't in college.
School, right?
I wasn't in college, so I couldn't get
exactly.
it.
Yeah. No, it was like
when I turned 18, my parents were like, "All right, you can get one now."
Like, and I remember it was like this big social accomplishment if you got when it was like invite only. It's like, I got the invite. I'm not a college student. I'm on Facebook. Versus now, they've got access to all of this social media, and like not just Facebook, but like 5 or 6 different apps that are all competing for their attention.
Very toxic.
What's your thoughts on the struggle there, though? Because this is something I think about a lot as a dad. Of like, I don't want those things negatively influencing my child, but also I don't want to put her at a disadvantage because that's the world we live in. We live in a digital world.
Yeah. I mean, my take on it right now is like at in no way, shape, or form are they getting anything resembling a smartphone until they hit at least 13.
Yeah.
And the good news is that like for us, where like we've got kids that are on the younger end, we're kind of in that like perfect situation where like this stuff is now starting to get figured out. And by the time our kids are at the age of where like they would be prime targets for social media, I think hopefully it'll be a bit more resolved by then. Something where society will have gotten used to it a bit more, like knows how to navigate it.
That's a good point.
But at the same time though, like I lean a bit more on the like, you know what, like if I'm going to give you a phone, I'm okay with it being a flip phone, having to deal with T9 just like I did, and making that a journey that you have to follow in my footsteps on, because it's just the level of toxicity that can reach kids at such a young age now, and just create, just this constant churn of anxiety.
And it's not by accident either.
No,
it's true malicious intent on the other side of those screens.
Yeah. The goal is keep the user on the phone, keep them in the app.
Exactly.
And if that winds up creating a circumstance where like they have an addiction to their phone, or if they develop an anxiety disorder or depression or anything like that, well, we can explain that away with statistics and say, look how good the rest of our users are doing, though. Never mind that, like, but for the others, it's just as big of a problem.
Yeah. I think we're beyond that point. I think at this point, they're like, if this creates, anxiety and depression, well, cool, we can sell another product to them for that, too.
No.
And it's pure consumerism.
Big pharma is now big tech.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel sometimes like they're just like merging into this like just big corporate space where there's always somebody trying to sell something to counteract the thing that we were sold that we were told was going to be helping on something else.
I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day because he does a lot of pharmaceutical stuff. And I was like, I said, I don't take anything for anything because like you take a headache medicine and it says may experience anal bleeds. But if you have an anal bleed, take this other medicine, may experience headaches. So I think I'll just deal with the headache, brother.
No.
Yeah.
So many thoughts on that.
That was Tyler, by the way.
Yeah. I had a question. What was it? Kind of going into that like phone addiction stuff. You said you've had family members who have experienced addiction. Like what was that experience for you as a family member?
Yeah, so I've had two family members, one of an older generation, one of my generation, who've both gone through primarily alcoholism, but mix in some other substance abuse in there as well. And the older generation that was largely before my time, I'd always just kind of like heard about it. It was recognized like, oh, they've got AA meetings every so often that they go to, but it was a thing, but now it's not. Versus when the member of my generation started going through it, it was much more of a pronounced and active thing of where got firsthand experience of seeing the damage that's being done, but at the same time, though, feeling completely powerless to stop it. Because in this case, with exception of like the last couple of months before they went into active recovery, we were typically like 500 miles away. A lot of this started happening when I was in D.C. and even when I moved back to Texas, they were in another part of the state at that point. And so, would get occasional updates. And then finally it crescendoed in with a car accident. And that was like, okay, like we are now at like a different stage here.
Yeah.
And so it was simultaneously one of the most difficult things I've had to go through in terms of watching my family go through that and dealing with it myself, but then also on the back end of seeing my family come together and work together to navigate that, and seeing where that person is now has really just given me so much strength in moving forward with, my own issues, which, it's nowhere near that, but that's what makes it seem that much easier. It's like, they were able to overcome all of this.
Yeah.
There is zero reason I can't go through and do this now and improve myself.
Yeah.
So they're just a huge inspiration to me now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, it's interesting how, like you said, the generational differences of like back in the day, like older generations had like AA and that was it. And like rehab was like very taboo. And getting help was like, you just bootstrap it and figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, and from my perspective, I think it can vary depending on like, particularly gender of where there's, for men, there is just this expectation of like, if you have a problem, you need to solve it on your own.
Yeah.
Like, and getting guys to reach out and ask for help is still it's not as high of a bar as it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be just like, no, the expectation was like, you did not ask for help unless it was like essential.
Yeah.
And even then you would still resist it. But it's still high up there where it's like, you got to overcome a lot before you can say, like, I need help. I need somebody to lift me up through this.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel like that is a strong component of American culture is very much like, figure it out on yourself, dude.
Which, in one case, it's great. I mean, you've got so many people in this country that are creating all these amazing things.
Yeah.
Like, find me another spot in the world where, you can have somebody start with nothing.
Yeah.
And build themselves up into, the next Mark Zuckerberg or something like that.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, it's you don't get help on that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get help when, you are really struggling.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost some of the community elements that would have helped fill in the gaps in that in the past. And I think, particularly for young men right now, but just younger generations in general, I think that leaves a lot of them feeling isolated and, getting back to social media, it brings it back to where that's their outlet. That's where they feel like they can get help and support. And it actually just winds up doubling down the problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think social media plays a big part in that because it's, whether it's using it to the positive of like, like bootstrap, like, like make your life better. Like you can do that. Like America's very like innovative in that way, but then it's also very isolating. Like I remember starting our company, I had to listen to music that was like, do it myself. Like I'm going to like, get it, figure it out and like rely on myself. But at the same time, I needed community and I was like starving for that. And so it's like, finding that balance in life in general. And like, as you're like using that like independence and like motivation, to grow something, it's also important to find community that can like hold you accountable. And like, a lot of people are, coping with life by drinking or using drugs. And so if you don't have that community, it can just increase that so much more.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, community is, in my opinion, alongside with family, just the ultimate anti-drug. And I know that term's totally played out. But
it's 100% true, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Just having people, and I think you nailed it, of where it's accountability. It is something of where these are people that are willing and able to say when you're doing something wrong, but do so in a way where you're going to be receptive and feel loved by it too. And that's something of where social media can't do that.
No.
Social media only has one setting for that, and that's criticism. Now, for some people, they can handle that. They can handle that criticism and then use it to adjust. But for a lot of other people, it can send them into a spiral where they've got nowhere else to turn, and then they get negative feedback, and it starts causing them into a doom loop.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a double-edged sword. We talk about that a lot, of exactly what you said. There's more opportunity here than anywhere else in the world, but also success is one of the most isolating things because the more successful you are, the less relatable you are to everybody else.
Yeah.
And we really struggle to find friends, not because we don't care about people, but it's the conversations that we have are just so different than the conversations that they have. They want to talk about the football game last weekend or this or that, and we're like wanting to discuss business. And
we were just talking about how impulsive people are because our friend's company CEO went on Joe Rogan, and people were impulsively calling for the products that he talked about.
Right.
And
Like they have
that was like baffling to us. We're like, what? You just heard about it.
So
on
yeah,
the
like one
podcast.
episode on a podcast, which it's a big podcast, and I like the podcast.
Yeah,
but
it's a great podcast.
that's like a 30x increase on their inbound sales opportunities. That's insanity that it has that much effect on our society.
Such an impulsive call.
I am realizing I should have had a product to sell here.
Yeah. It'll apparently go pop off.
But
We're not that podcast.
Not yet.
But like I can sit there, smoke cigars, and talk with my buddy about that for hours, and really like dive into like trying to figure out the nuances of how do we replicate this, those types of things.
Yeah.
And that's the conversations that I enjoy. There's not many people that I can have those conversations with, though. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, for me, it's politics. I mean, which but that's my work. That's my industry. Like, I can spend hours talking with. I try to keep up with friends that I've made from college, and they're scattered all over the country at this point. But when I'm commuting back home, I'll get them on the phone, and most of the time, it'll just go straight back to politics and chatting about that because they're generally tied in as well. And versus like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, look, Texas making the Sweet 16 right now. That's awesome. Let's go. But at the same time, though, it's like, but now back on to like the main thing here.
Like that's the isolation though, because you've seen success in that sphere, right? And the further you get down there, the more niche it becomes, and the less people that you can talk to about it.
Yeah, and you feel like you have to withhold yourself a little bit.
Exactly. It's like I can't be who I am in front of my friends. Which are we friends now? Because we don't do anything together other than watch a football game.
Because if I try and like talk politics, I will get one of two responses from like folks that aren't particularly engaged in it. Either one, they will just like eyes just glaze over. It's just like, what is this dude talking about? Or on the other hand, it'll be like, okay, I'm going to say everything I think about politics right here, right now, zero filter. And it's just like, okay, so we just learned a whole lot more about each other. And I mean, but I'm sure y'all encounter that too, of where it's like, you start talking about business and somebody might either have like a pitch or just like they've got like a preconceived notion of how business works. And then just go off on a tangent about it.
Especially being a woman in business. Mike has seen this over the years. He didn't like believe it really. He's like, oh no, guys don't. Oh my gosh. Men just love to tell me how to do business. And I'm just like,
they do. It's funny.
I don't like, I am more successful than you. I just like listen. So like it's knowing like who to give your energy to or not. Or like I'll have people, I've had some people that are like casually asking me to mentor them. And I'm just like, no, like, I don't have time for that. But yeah, it is interesting when people like talk business. They either like don't give a shit or they try to like, like promote their own business or like how great they are, and it's not like an actual conversation.
It
turns into a pissing contest instead of like an actual conversation. It's interesting. But I think keeping your circle small is not necessarily a bad thing. Like,
no,
Jesus kept his circle small. He had 12 disciples, but he had like 3 buddies that he really hung out with inside of that. And so that's kind of what I have to remind myself of, is like, I can have people that I associate with, but they don't necessarily have to have access to speak into my life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I think, it can get to a point of where, trying to open yourself up too much, trying to bring too many people in, they start bringing in negative influences into that process too. It's distracting from what the goals are. And because, everybody's got their own stuff. Everybody's got their own agenda that they want to go after. And, that's perfectly natural. Nothing wrong about that. But at the same time, though, if you let too much of that in, it can take away from the other elements that you're trying to focus on.
I think also going back to social media, like, plays a big part in that. Like, we see all these people with all these friends and all this stuff, and like we don't realize a lot of it's fake. Or a lot of it's just like like fake friends, like they're not true. It's just like for the show, or like they're not actually like genuinely calling each other out, and they're just like party buddies, and they're not actual friends that are going to like help you like grow and succeed and have your best interest.
Well, I mean, and the old saying, I'm probably going to butcher it, but your friends who are drinking don't want you to get sober.
Yeah.
Your friends who are
Drinking
overweight,
buddies.
yeah,
They're
they
not real
don't,
friends.
yeah, they don't want you to get skinny.
Yeah.
Like that's something of where they want you there with them.
Yeah.
And that can create a situation of where like you are trying to grow, you are trying to develop, but then,
That's
they've got
off-putting.
incentive to keep you around because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had I can't remember who said it, but it was an influencer, and he was quoting something. And he said, "No, nobody's ever wanted you to do better than them except your parents."
Yep. No, that's great. I love that.
Yeah, everybody's
parents.
cool with you being successful as long as you're not more successful than they are.
Yeah.
I was like, that's 100% true. It's really hard to find those people that truly want to see you be successful.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can readily admit, like I struggle with that sometimes, where it's like, writing on Substack when I get the chance, and seeing some moderate success there. But there's some people that like came up at the same time, who I've seen like they've done great, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But then I see it, I'm like, those jerks. Yeah, I want that to be
Better
me.
than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get the temptation of where it's like somebody wanting to like tear them down just because like they want that success for themselves. It's nothing personal typically, but it's just like their own stuff that they're trying to navigate, and it can be tricky to work through that. And being on social media is just it creates this whole new dynamic that I don't know that anybody's really fully prepared how to navigate that.
Yeah, it's like a comparison constantly in our face.
Yeah, and comparison of being fake too, like because we all put
The
out
highlight reel.
Yeah. How can my best pictures beat out this other person's best pictures? And it's just, never mind, like you had to take 40 of those pictures to just get one, and all the others were, ranging from mid to garbage. And it's just, it's a competition of just who can be fake while looking the least fake.
Yeah.
Right.
The most casual fake.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been, there was a quote I saw that was like, the price for success is embarrassment. And like cringe. And so I've been taking that on my social media because I've been trying to grow it. I've been doing pretty good. And the more like cringe or like stupid I can be, like the better it does. Like the more edited videos like tank. I had like 70 views on one of them. I was like, man, that took me like an hour to like edit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I remember I had a post that I spent like 10 hours writing, editing, narrowing down because like I had this really like distinct point I wanted to make, and it was like my worst performing one ever. And then there was one that I slapped together in like half an hour, and it was like my second best performing piece out of all of them. It's just like,
It's so annoying.
like I want to take the lesson of where it's like you just need to follow your instincts and just go with it. But at the same time though, it's just, you can definitely over-engineer something, but then also though, like if you're not being true to yourself in that, like, because I like over-engineering things, I like having things precise. In my field of work, precision matters. Like the details matter in policy.
Precision of language.
And even if like other people don't like that, it's still important to me.
Yeah.
But social media creates this massive incentive of where it's just like, no, you need to change what you do, what you put out into the world to fit what other people want. And I think long term, that's probably going to be one of those things that we look back on. It's just like, wow, we really probably should have created a massive conformity machine and then introduced a bunch of teenagers to it too.
Well, I think that seeps into politics too. It turned into, we're inclusive as long as you fit the mold that we tell you to.
And you agree with us 100%.
Oh yeah.
I feel like in the last year, though, there's been a lot of people that are like, I agree with both sides and like openly like coming out as like, openly like, I agree with both points. And like, how do we find a middle ground here?
Oh yeah. I mean, in politics, social media just does not allow for nuance. You can't have
It
that.
polarizes everything.
Have to be one or the other.
And that's what's crazy is that
Exhausted.
when you talk to people like, face to face, 99% of people are somewhere right in the middle.
In the middle,
But if you look online, it doesn't exist. There is no middle ground.
I mean, and look, I guarantee you, like, if we were to take a poll of the three of us, we would have plenty of issues where we've got different views, disagreeing on stuff. But that doesn't stop us from having the conversation.
Exactly.
But on social media, because every word can be picked apart and because it's just you're not talking to a person, you're talking to an avatar.
Yeah.
You're talking to their photo and saying, okay,
They're
well,
bots.
and you can justify as like, I don't know this person. There's no ramifications if I'm a jerk here.
Exactly. There's no ramifications. There's no consequence for action online. They had a thing I was looking at the other day, and it was a poll talking about gun control. It's like there's a direct correlation with crime increasing where gun control increases because there's no consequence. If I know you ain't got a gun, I'm not scared of you because you ain't going to hurt me.
Yeah.
And that's why we live in Texas.
Exactly.
It's the same on social media though. Like if I don't have a relationship with you, then I'll just say whatever I want.
Yeah, they had I forgot who it was. It might have been Mike Tyson. But he was talking about how people used to be way more respectful, and they're asking him, why do you think that is? He said, because I'll beat your ass if you talk to me like that face to face. But I think it's true. Like exactly what you're saying. We're not talking to each other online. We're talking to each other avatar to avatar. There's no consequence there.
Yeah.
And zero listening as part of that either, of where it's just, it gets back to that saying of where it's like most people are just talking and waiting their turn to so they can talk. It's even worse on social media where it's just like, you might get like a response video, but then like 30 seconds later, it just pivots over to exactly whatever they were going to say anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, it's not a good space for having like honest discussion or debate. I think you can have, what I think it's great for is idea generation and bringing people together of like new ideas, testing those out.
Yeah.
But in terms of like trying to like connect people, which was what it was originally sold as. It's like, we're going to connect the world. We're going to bring all these communities together. It's like, you kind of did that, but then you also gave us the tools to tear all of that down.
Disconnect as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple old sayings that my grandparents used to tell me. And one of them was, a wise man speaks because he has something to say. A fool speaks because he has to say something. And I think that one has always rang true with me. Like I try, if there's not something that I can put forth that's going to be beneficial to the conversation, just don't say anything at all. And then my dad used to say this to me because I was real bad about speaking back to him. He said it's better to stay quiet and look a fool than to open your mouth and leave no doubt. Because I used to talk back to him a lot, and that's what he would tell me.
I might have to write that one down for my son. That's going to be
our daughter is talking back a lot.
She is. But yeah, I think like those principles, I think that was like the whole generation back then thought that way of like, I'd rather just stay quiet and let you think what you think than open my mouth and polarize a conversation. And that doesn't exist anymore.
No. And look, there have been perks to that. There are perspectives that were regularly pushed aside that were not considered, that I think more people than we would have thought held. And being able to let them get those out and express it, I think that's, in the short term, it might be disruptive. Long term, I think that's healthy. The problem is everything that came with it, of where it's given permission to say things that can be totally outlandish. And again, getting back to what we were saying earlier, of just no consequences for it, or very minimal. And, it's just gone completely off the leash, of where before we might have had might have been a little too restrictive on speech. And now it's just gone the complete opposite end of where it's just Wild West.
Yeah, it is. I'm curious, going back to like the political world in DC, how was that communication? Was it I'm kind of getting the sense it was more just like talking to talk, like get your own point across. And
so you mean like in terms of like what we would say to like the public, or like what we were talking to because what we would say, like what we would say to ourselves among staffers, like fun fact, like when I was in DC, so I worked for Republican. I had loads of Democrat friends, which, I don't know if that's the case anymore today in terms of that being like feasible, just because of the huge divide that there is. But, I was there from 2014 to 2018. Things were still fairly divided back then. And even then, I had plenty of friends who were Democrats who we were chatting with all the time. And they were some of the folks I'd go out, to the bars with after a long day's work. But, when it came to like what was being communicated to the public, I mean, it was typically very sanitized of, press releases that were over-engineered 5 times over to get it just right. And then like that was right around the time though where like Twitter was really taking off from a political perspective of where like suddenly you had access to a US senator in your pocket where they could just type out anything they wanted.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was back in the era of where like people would say things and like getting canceled was still like relatively new. People are still figuring it out. And you had a couple of members of Congress who got into really tight spots because they would say something ill-advised and because they had just like had a thought like, I'm going to put this on the internet. And it was just like, nope, don't do that, please.
So behind the scenes, it was more like authentic and genuine, but like kind of what's put out to the public is engineered.
Yeah. I mean, especially with staff, you know, because at the end of the day, it's a job. Like you are there and you are there to help promote this other person's worldview because, you know, they're the person that got elected. So, you know, and often if you're doing it right, you're working for somebody who shares a lot of the worldviews that you have. But at the same time, though, you know, there's recognition of like, we're all pushing stuff that we might not totally agree with or might not be a priority. And there's some commonality for any staffer there. These days, though, I'm not sure that you would be able to say that as much, like because there is just such an insistence on purity and just getting every part of the litmus test right of where like if you're seen as like socializing with somebody across the aisle, that might be kind of viewed as like, do you really believe what you're saying or are you just kind of saying it to say
Which
it?
is crazy because like we're polarizing stuff to that extent that we're not even able to be friends anymore. That's crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, you'll get the counter argument where I was like, well, this is vitally important. This has massive implications. And if somebody doesn't agree with me on this, then like, what does that say about them as a person? And I think that just so dismisses the idea of like, look, that person came from a totally different background than you, had a totally different upbringing, went through totally different things that shaped them to that perspective. And you're not even giving them a shot to like explain that. You're just immediately dismissing all of that out of hand. And that really does cut both ways. Both sides do that all the time now.
There's no longer political discourse, which is kind of the whole concept of having like a democratic republic, right? Is that we can discuss things, you're going to win a couple, you're going to win a couple, and together we're going to create a society. Now we're pushing towards having basically a two-party communism of like, it's either my way or their way. They're the enemy.
And you're, and you know, if you'll let me nerd out for just a second, like this has coincided with a really big buildup of executive authority in the office of the president, of where more and more Congress has given over authority and power to the White House to make sure that their particular political agenda can get done regardless of whether or not, you know, they have the votes in Congress to do it, which, you know, from like a purely partisan perspective, it's like, great, all the stuff I want to see happen is happening. Only one, there's no outlet for the other side that just feels totally disenfranchised now because all that is happening. And it goes both ways. Like during the Obama and Biden eras, you know, you had a bunch of Republicans saying like, this country is just being totally turned against anything that I recognize. And now that Trump is back in office, same thing all over again. It's just the other side is saying it now. And, you know, that's what Congress is supposed to be there for, is to find that middle ground, those compromises that, you know, no one's ever going to be perfectly happy. But at the same time, though, at least everybody's getting a little bit of something to where they can live with it.
Yeah, and the whole personalizing thing, I think that's been really frustrating over the years. It's like, if we don't agree, then like you're just a trash human being. It's like, what?
I think exactly what you said. The handing over power is something that I didn't really think about, but it has been happening over probably the last 10 or 12 years. And it's been crazy to the point where people look at a president and they're like, he's got to be this perfect specimen of humanity. It's like, that's not his role. Like, he's not here to be your pastor or your husband or spouse, whatever. He's here to be the president. It's definitely gotten really crazy. It makes me think of the Star Wars scene where they're like handing over the Republic to what's his face?
To Palpatine.
It's like, That's basically what we're doing. We're like, oh, we don't want to vote anymore. We're too stupid. You take all the power.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
What social media is telling us.
Right.
And here's the thing. I don't want it to come across as I'm saying like Congress is completely impotent. It's filled with people who just aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There are some people in Congress who are doing nothing, and they're just like sitting on social media and that's all they do. And they're just there to farm clout.
Yeah.
There are still, I would say, majority of elected officials that are there for positive reasons who want to get stuff done. And they, along with the rest of us, are trying to figure out like how to actually navigate this because particularly, and we keep coming back to social media, but I do think that's the big driving force there. It's just, it's changed so much about how people engage politically that it's made it a lot harder to have any of the nuance that you need to effectively legislate and get stuff done. Yeah. Because the only stuff that gets done nowadays is stuff where it's like, oh, it's a transportation bill that no one had been paying attention to. And it's like, and they got a bunch of great stuff in there. It's like, that's awesome. It's awesome because nobody was really focusing on it at all outside of DC. So they were able to get it done without a bunch of like partisan stuff getting inserted.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had Warren Buffett had made a statement one time that I thought was pretty accurate. He said he could solve the national debt crisis overnight. He said you'd make it to where the moment that we're ever in the negative, nobody in Congress gets paid, you'd never have a national debt again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's an issue why there are things that get so overlooked is there's no stakes for them like there is for everybody else in America. They're voting for stuff to happen to the regular folks, not to them.
Yeah, there's been a more of a class divide in the last many years.
Yeah.
It's definitely been like a separation.
And, you're starting to see like some movement on that, particularly in terms of, banning members of Congress from trading stock, which, I think to the average American, it's like, that's a no brainer. It's just like these guys have access to information and can direct the policy of the country.
Right.
To where like they're going to have the inside track on any business dealings on that. And yet it's been such a struggle to get that through Congress. I mean, we're talking like multiple sessions year over year over year where it's like it gets momentum each time a little bit more, but it's still like just struggles to get through. And meanwhile, you've got some members of Congress where you look at it, it's just like, they were doing fine before they were members of Congress. Then all of a sudden, like they are multi-millionaires after just a few years. Yeah.
Or their husband is a multimillionaire. What happened there? Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff. There was something that you put in your thing, though, that I want to discuss we hadn't hit on yet, is you, on your tag, it's set to be a great leader. You have to be great at home first. I thought that was pretty awesome because a lot of times when we think of stuff, not just in leadership, but in general, we think of things as like this systemic issue. I remember Jordan Peterson had done a speech on this a while back about focus on being just a better you and having a better household. And if we all focus on that, by default, society becomes better.
Completely agree.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly as well. I thought it was really cool that you put that in there. I'd be curious to hear more from you on that particular topic.
Yeah, I mean, you said so much of what I would have said. We overall, and working in DC, I learned like you as an individual have so little control over the world that we see every day. Like you see all of this stuff happening, and your ability to influence it is zero.
Yeah.
The stuff that you do have control over, though, being at home, being with your kids, being with your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whomever, that you do have control over. And I think we tend to forget just how much that influences the stuff that we're going through on a daily basis. We tend to put it out onto the world of like, all this terrible stuff is happening out there. That's got me in a bad mood. Yeah. Maybe, but also like if you don't have a healthy home life, you're not going to have a happy anything life. And being able to set that up to where you are being a good partner, a good father, good mother, and you are making that a priority, I think that's just ultimately always going to lead to you being able to present your best self to the rest of the world, to be a better influence, whether it's at work or in the community. And, like you said, if everybody's doing that, that's going to be a rising tide that lifts all boats.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, we'll see a lot of clients here. It's like, and like, I don't know, myself included at times, like it feels so hopeless. Like we have a vote, but like it doesn't matter, you know? And so it is important to circle back to like what is in your control. And that is like your day-to-day life and like how you show up. And so you can be distracted with social media and just be like, oh, I'm so hopeless. Or you can choose, you know, hope and choose like, okay, what am I investing my time and energy into? Myself. And that's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Myself and my family.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for us, if I spend too much time on the internet, I'm like, man, our life sucks. But if I just turn my phone off and I focus inward, I'm like, our life's pretty freaking great. Like, no matter what's going on in D.C. and what's going on overseas, our life doesn't change much. Like, I'm still going to go to work. I'm still going to come home. I'm going to play with my kid. We're going to go out to eat a couple of times a week. Like, it doesn't change much for me. And so if I just quit listening to it, life's pretty great.
Yeah. I've been listening to a lot more lately. But it's actually been helping me be more focused on like what we have and like, you know, like what's going on day to day and being more excited to like have influence in my own circle because it does feel so helpless right now with everything going on that I'm like, all right, like I can see the change in like my immediate family. I can see the change in my staff. I can see the change in my friends. And so like just having influence where I can has been helpful.
Absolutely.
Because even like, right now in the world, it feels very chaotic and like, what is happening?
I think we don't always realize how much influence we have too.
Yeah.
Like the little group that we do on Wednesday mornings and stuff. Like you probably don't think about it much, but like there's a couple things that you had said the other morning that I went home and thought about that like all day long.
He'll tell me, he's like, this is what we talked about this week.
Yeah. Because you had talked about, you know, kind of like the identity crisis of like having spent time in DC and coming back and then being a dad and like who am I anymore? It's like, dude, that's what I deal with on a daily basis. Like, who am I? And then like we have one of our businesses, the marketing agency. I had like a massive identity crisis.
Huge.
Yeah, I hated that.
He was like sitting around like, what do I do? Playing video games for like a week straight. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we had. So I was managing partner there, and we swapped it up, and I handed the reins off to Joel, who's doing a phenomenal job, way better than I ever did. But I had like nothing to do anymore. Like it was still my company, but I didn't do anything. And coming from a very, you know, middle class, blue collar background, if I'm not contributing, then I'm a loser. Like that's just the way I was raised. Like you have to contribute something. And so that was big for me. It's like, who am I without occupation? But that shouldn't be the way it is, right? Like there should be something of you other than occupation. So anyway, you had talked about it the other day, and I think, you know, as a testament to a sphere of influence, like you and I barely know each other at that point, and I thought about that for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, that does open it up where it's like, you know, that's something I was just like spitting off the cuff of just like that was just how I was feeling that morning of just like going in of like coming from dropping off daycare, and you know I am consistently 15 minutes late because daycare drop off is at the exact same time that leadership meeting starts. So I'm just coming in of like, I'm trying to balance all this. I'm trying to be a leader. I'm trying to be a dad. Also, I've got to get to work, and you know, sometimes just that's the feeling that comes out, and being able to say that honestly, having a space to say it, because I think that is something of where a lot of us struggle, of where we don't have the opportunity to say what's really on our minds in a lot of situations. And just knowing that like through that honesty, that activated something for you, which, you know, then, you know, through its ripple effects of like leads to us having a conversation that leads to me being here. Like, and
you're here because of that statement. Yeah.
And then who knows what's going to come from this then, of where it's just like, you don't know what one thing might lead to another. And just, I think it really speaks to just the need for folks to be able to be open, honest, and communicate with one another in a way that is much more human than I think a lot of opportunities that we give ourselves right now.
I think it's the necessity of integrity too, of that. Even if you think nobody's looking, you still need to be true to who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Always say yes, and always open your mouth, and always.
Right.
In a healthy sense.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that's a big thing. Going back to, you talked earlier about, men asking for help and stuff. I think being a dad and being a man, that's something what I struggle with a lot. It's like, I have to be the rock that everybody else can lean on. Well, who the fuck do I get to lean on every now and then?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
I mean, look, I think we live in a world of constant pressure, and I think men in particular having to navigate what does it now mean to be a man in this world of where, that pressure is still there to provide, to be the rock, but also there's a lot of changes that have gone on over the past, I'd say 15 to 20 years that have changed what it means, at least in terms of like what society says is a man and how they're supposed to navigate that. And I think that puts that much more pressure on us, especially those of us that like really embraced the more traditional, like I'm going to go be a provider, I'm going to go lead my family. And now there's other expectations that come with it too. And I think that's created a bit of a dichotomy for some guys where they're trying to figure that out. It can be tough.
Yeah. I think it's like a silver lining to all of that. I see is that I feel like dads in this generation are more present.
Yes.
And it's less like I go to work and I'm just like missing in action. It's like, it's really cool to see because like even with him like transitioning what he does, like with that transition, we work 9 to 5. And so we're like home with our kid all the time. And he's like, he'll take days off and spend the whole day with her. And so spent a whole week with her when I was out of town.
It was amazing.
Could our dads do that? Like, is that something the generation previously would have done?
Yeah.
And that's so cool.
And not to rip on my dad. I love my dad, but he worked a ton when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And it was largely my mom that like took care of the day-to-day stuff. And I did make a conscious decision with my wife of whereas like I'm not always going to go for the highest paying job or the most, high profile stuff because I want to be here at home. I want to make sure that I'm leading at home and being there for you, for our son, future kids as well. And, I think that sure, that might cost me financially, but in the long term, in terms of stability, in terms of family relationships, that's just going to pay dividends for the long haul.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I think it was Alex Hormozy was talking about like the ambition of being a business leader and stuff. And he was saying he was talking to some buddies back from high school that, financially weren't as successful as him. And they're asking him like, what is it? Like, what am I missing that you have that allows you to be so successful? And he's like, dude, I'm the broken one. You're the one that's got it right. Like you're able to have this nice balanced life. I'm the one that like, I'm constantly inadequate if I don't achieve more, and it's causing chaos in every other aspect of my life. It might not have been him that said it. I don't remember who said it, but I thought that was really cool is, he's way more successful than we will ever be when it comes to that particular type of thing. But having a kid really kind of balanced us out because before that, you would look at us and you say, okay, these are broken people because like if we weren't, like if we got to the next quarter and the next quarter wasn't, a 10% increase from what we did the last fiscal quarter, we're like, oh, we failed.
We were working like 12-hour days, like no.
Yeah,
no.
and it's not even that we needed money or needed, business success or anything. It's just we couldn't find fulfillment in anything else.
Our value was there. And I think that's what I'm seeing is that like the modern like dad or the modern parent are trying to find like value-based life and like live it to the fullest. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's not about money. Even though like the way we run this business now, we constantly say, well, this is not a money-focused business. This is a mission-focused business. And if we're really great at the mission, the money will come. But that's not ever our goal.
Yep. Absolutely. And work in nonprofit space. I mean, it's literally baked into the name. We're not here to make money. And it's one of those things though, where it's like, you can go home with your head held high each day.
Exactly.
You can get home at a reasonable hour. You can tuck your kid in.
Right.
And that alone just has such a transformative effect, at least for me anyway, in terms of just like my how I view life, how I approach things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you at church yesterday?
Yeah. Or on Sunday.
Yeah. on
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Yesterday was Sunday. Yeah.
Or wait, no. Or today,
Today's Monday.
Sorry. I've got the day off today, so like I'm just operating in 3-day weekend mode, and so I'm just like, wait, what day is it again?
it?
Yeah.
But anyway, Trevor's message yesterday like really resonated with me because there's a lot of things that are fruitful in our life, and he was talking about. He's like, it's not just because it's not a sin doesn't mean it's not something that doesn't need to be cut out.
Yeah.
It could just be that you have multiple priorities that are conflicting with each other and competing.
Yeah, those
for
competing
time.
branches. Yeah.
And I think that's something that we've gone through over the last year or two.
A lot.
Because like just the power of saying no, because we'll have opportunities that become available to us, and we're like, no, we're not starting any new things.
No new businesses.
Yeah.
Was our motto.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the truth of it, is just because it's fruitful doesn't mean it's actually good for you long term.
Yeah.
And success begets success. Like that's like, and people want to be around successful people. They want to be involved with them because they want success as well.
Yeah.
So they want to bring those opportunities to the successful. But being able to say like, that's not a good fit, or that's going to take too much time, or that's going to distract from the mission.
Yeah.
That kind of discernment, I mean, for long-term success is vital. Like before I landed where I am today, I had a bad habit of like, if somebody had a political cause I agreed with and they asked me to come help, like, sure thing, let's go.
Right.
Like I've got time to volunteer.
Yeah.
I did not have time to volunteer.
Right. Yeah.
And, it would either lead to burnout or just like colliding schedules that would just take away from, all the other elements of my life. And that just would routinely leave me out of balance. And I think that's something of where it's hard to say no, but when you get good at it, that's just such a valuable skill.
And planning too, like having actual strategy. My dad used to say this all the time, failing to plan is planning to fail. And that has rang true so many times for us in life, to where, maybe there are some seasons where we have to hustle, but identifying with foresight that that's going to be a season.
Yep.
And knowing that we're going to come out of that on the other side. That's not the, indefinite future. I think all that stuff's just really, really important. And it's stuff that people don't talk about. Like they just, you got a sales job? Okay, well, you got to work as hard as you can and make as much money as you can, as fast as you can. It's like, that's not a strategy. That is just work until you die.
Well, I think for me, and like kind of going back to social media or like influence from others, when I first got into the like working like a career, I took on other people's values and goals as my own. Like I wanted to like climb the ladder at this one company. It's like, that wasn't my ultimate goal, is to make something huge and like an anti-human trafficking recovery center. And that didn't align with that. And so it's important to question like, what are my true values and like, what is my direction?
Yeah.
Or am I taking on the influence of either social media or like people around me that are like not genuinely like have their best interest in for me? Or it's like, maybe it's not God's. Like that would have been fine if I went that way, but like God has other plans. Like that's the like the leading branch he was talking about, like cutting away stuff that's not going towards the ultimate goal.
Absolutely.
Is so important. So yeah. Awesome.
Well, cool.
Well, all right. Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely. No, thank y'all for
We'll end it
having me.
there.